Hello, Israel. Welcome to Saudi Arabia. Not a fan of the first name, but whatever. How has your experience been in our country these last few days? And how do you think you will do against our second best Muslim savior at middleweight, Nasruddin Imavov? I have been in Saudi Arabia for 2 days, so I've embraced Saudi Arabian culture. My sugar daddy, Turkey Al Sheikh, has taught me a lot about not only fighting, but royal culture and royal protocol. I've fallen in love with the land. I love the sightseeing. The people are very hospitable and treat me very well. And I just love the atmosphere. I love it. I want to stay here eventually or have a house here. Being here, my destiny and my dreams are realized one step at a time. I really appreciate Saudi Arabia. Black outside, Saudi inside. I am the black goat. Trust! Okay, so does Kamzat beat you or no? Splitty City Slickers! Welcome to Split Decision Combat Sports with Hank the Tank and the Idaho Fight Fan, a show where we agree on occasion. We concede some points a time or two, but mostly we disagree beyond the realm of human comprehension. And for this very special edition of the Split Decision Combat Sports preview and picks, there are a few things that we're probably going to be split on, but the most important one is whether or not there will be an Islamic/Russian sweep on the upcoming UFC card, as well as plenty of close fights and potential underdogs here. However, I do have to mention the card's sort of been chewed up and spit out a little over the last couple days, and it's gone from 13 fights to 11 on a fight night card. So keep that in mind. There are some fun fights that we had that aren't there anymore, but there's still some good action here. So I'm looking forward to breaking everything down, I guess.
What are some of the fights that fell off?
It was an opening contest between Oki. I remember it was Oki, and then it was someone else, and then there was another one that just got. Oh, it was Ikram Aliskrov's fight with Andre Muniz that got cut.
I heard about that.
But yeah, but Baka, what is his name? I forget the first name, but I remember it's Oki, the Okie Dokie. Balaji Oki and Abdul Karim El Sawadi. Both of those fights got cut.
Got you. Yeah,
those were two badass fights, which is a shame.
Yeah, two cards this weekend that are in boxing and MMA that are gonna be pretty damn good in my opinion. The Saudi Arabia card and also Morell Benavidez is a pretty stacked card. There is some regional shows this week. There's gonna be Octagon, Hexagon, RFC. One Friday fights. Obviously on Friday is gonna be awesome. We don't know a lot of those fighters on there, but don't need to. It's always a good show. And actually, there is a local fight, Front Street Fights, going down on Friday. I was considering going, but I'm not sure. So I guess I'll just ask you first, like, what is like the fight of the weekend for you?
That's a good one. I think it would probably have to be Shara Bullet versus MVP. Although I will say that I also like Vinicius Oliveira versus Said Nurmagomedov. That's a great fight as well. And there's plenty of good boxing matches. Again, it's stacked, the main card, especially like the last three I'm looking forward to. So,
yeah. For me, it'd have to be Morell versus Benavidez, regardless of what's going on in MMA. I think that is going to be the best actual like fight of the weekend. Real quick before we'll read some comments. There's quite a few people here. Hey, what's up to everybody? Appreciate you guys all joining the show. I was going to do a live chat on Monday. I had asked in the community section for some questions. Usually do those on Mondays, but I've had to push that back till next week. I will use those questions in next week's live chat, but Isha and Jay were kind enough to come on the show and do MMA Nerd. Check that out if you guys haven't. And if you guys want to be on the show, let me know. You can email me, can'twait98@gmail.com. Combat Steez on Instagram, and then MMA Steez on Twitter. So feel free to DM me. But yes, I want to read some comments now. Antoine, what is up? He says, yo, what's up, boys? This is Israel's first non-pay-per-view fight since 2018. Wow, that's actually interesting.
Hey, what Saudi wants, Saudi gets.
Eagles or Chiefs? I don't really watch football, but I've heard that the refs have been ultra biased towards the Chiefs, so I'll probably go
wouldn't say ultra, but there have been a few calls that are a little bit suspicious. But I wouldn't say I'd say half, like 80% of it's talent from the Chiefs, and 20% of it is, oh, they got lucky with this, or oh, Patrick Mahomes random Hail Mary that he got out of nowhere. So yeah, again, my theory is that they have a pot that they bubble, toil and trouble, and they get the results from the big man downstairs. So
Yeah,
that's
combat sports is no different. Quandas, first time I've seen you in here, says Shara wins. What is up, man?
there you go.
Scott Young, yeah, this card definitely started to fall apart before I got here. I think that
Still better than UFC 312.
yeah, the UFC has so much content to put out that doesn't really surprise me. We still got the main event intact, and like UFC 311. So yeah,
Still exciting, but not
UFC's
like,
a content
man,
machine,
this is
and
gonna be a card of the year contender. I don't think so.
good to see Chummy Boy and Larry. CFFC, the real Bilal. I actually was looking at
Bilal.
CFFC, and that guy Bilal is going to be fighting.
Yes, Bilal
What is up,
Hassan.
Pulse? We're having a good evening. Thank you, Scott. I can confirm 2 main fight, 1 Friday fight will be awesome. Well, hell yeah, there you go. Doesn't shock me. Sniff says, keep Izzy away from me. And he actually shows
The dog
a dog
emoji.
emoji.
We'll keep him away from your little puppies. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too.
Versus Fairtex is, I don't think his name is Fair. Just let everybody know that Hoshiryu has become the 74th Yokozuna in sumo history, and I'm super stoked. You're gonna have to explain what that even means to me. I've heard that you have become an avid sumo wrestler, Scott, but I am just so far removed from the world of sumo. So
He's getting Isha hooked on it too. So new
Sniff
sport.
says Gunnar Nelson is gonna submit Holland.
That is a
Probably.
great prediction. It will happen.
Imavov for the upset. I'm hoping the Eagles win. Yeah.
We all are.
You should go watch it live. What is up, Andrew? Good to see you.
Hey.
Interesting. Hank, I'm so tired, bro. Says there will be mud. Good to see you, Mud.
Baked potato with some salad.
That looks
Yummy.
His name is Fairtex, like Super Leg is Kit Mukau. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay. What? Holland already has another fight? Probably. Dude, the UFC loves that guy. You guys don't listen to the show enough, I guess. Anyway, so Hank,
I won't say that Kevin Holland has the best reputation after that Rampage Jackson interview. Looks to me like he's public enemy number 1, but hey, maybe that'll make him even more popular.
yeah, I don't mean to turn this into a sumo stream, but that's the highest ranking in sumo. It's super prestigious, and once you reach that ranking, the only thing left after that is retirement. There's no falling out of it. I don't understand, why would he only be the 74th sumo wrestler to reach this ranking? We got a super chat from CLP. Says Steve Asplund gonna go full Steve Wilkos on Hank. Interesting. Who's Steve Asplund?
He was a fighter on LFA 200, and I picked him to win. But then I also commented that he had sort of man moobs on the live fight companion. And also I just did my thing and just called what I saw and was very critical during the event. And Steve Asplund actually commented on that LFA fight companion and said, oh, man, someone needs to humble this kid. Oh, yeah, his takes are out of control. He's a piece of shit. And so I'm just like, hey, you don't have to watch it, man. And if you think, oh, it's bad, if you have like a negative thing to say in MMA that you're angry that I'm so angry, like, what sport did you sign up for? It's MMA. Like, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. It's not going to be all positivity. And then he responded to me, and then I responded back. So we got beef.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if starting beef with fighters is like.
Hey, he started it with me. So
gotcha. Well, there you go. Any recommendations on how to stay awake? Don't look at your phone. Sumo is actually awesome. Yeah, I don't doubt it. It is. And dude, I don't know. Pro wrestling, sumo, football. I just watch combat sports. Is sumo a combat? I guess sumo is a combat sport.
Yeah, it counts.
Asplund, Guzzi, Hines, and Peterson all train together. Well, there you go.
That's right.
Sniff says Hank calls it like he sees tit.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when he's deliberately shaking them around. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, what you're saying about the fires is gross." And I said, "Oh, yeah, you know what's also gross? You fluctuating those things and jiggling them around 3 times before, during, and after." So,
Uh,
strange
Andrew
month.
B says, Idaho, you weren't on my live last night. Tell me what your live is about, Andrew.
Good
While you tell us that, Hank, let us know. He's got some locks and underdogs for us for the
right.
for a regional show this weekend. Let me know what it is.
And unfortunately, this one's going to have 8 sides instead of 6 sides. No hexagon, only octagon. But I was able to manage and found a lock and an underdog for this one. Starting with my lock here is Tamerlan Dulatov. I have him by round 1 submission. Tamerlan Dulatov is the brother of dominant Contender Series prospect and recent UFC contract winner Islam Dulatov. So his nickname Most Wanted is very appropriate, both for Octagon fans that want to see Islam, no, not that Islam's brother, fight, since he's pretty much a hometown hero and national celebrity now. Look up the video of him getting off his flight from Vegas to Dusseldorf, Germany, and see what I mean. And Octagon's promoters, who are seeing dollar signs right now. Or is that euros? Oh, well. Either way, they see money in brother Tamerlan and want to see how he does in their promotion compared to how his brother did. Also, the fact Islam only had 1 fight in Octagon means maybe they feel bitter on the potential cash cow they lost and want a return of investment through another Dulatov they can keep around for a while. Since Tamerlan's only had 1 professional fight and win. But boy, oh boy, what a win it was. Getting a 39-second ground and pound TKO of some Austrian welterweight. Given it was a complete scrub with 0 professional fights. But then again, Dulatov had none either. And neither does the guy he's facing on this card. Kuwaiti fighter Gith Igzawi, who has had 0 fights ever. So this should be a cinch for the Dulatov brother. Sawi Igzawi, but Emperor Tamerlane is conquering Germany, and he's ruining your MMA debut to start. So,
wait. That Islam Dulatov guy, now it's coming back to me. He's the guy who's a model for some cologne brand, right?
Yeah. He's a handsome guy. Has a presence in the German media, that's for sure. So, he was a star after winning his Contender Series debut.
Scott says they started the Yokozuna rankings like 150 years ago. Okay, so it sounds like it changes position like every 2 years who the top.
Yeah, a couple years or so.
Okay, there you go. That makes sense. Well, so while sumo wrestling is around 1,000 years old, the Yokozuna ranking was started around 150 years ago. All right, well, cool. We got some education in the place. All right, man, get us to your underdog.
My underdog for Octagon, what numbered event is it, by the way? 66, the devil's number. He keeps getting brought up. I'm going with Hojat Kajevand by round 2 submission. A wrestler's an underdog on this card, so you know for damn certain I'll be picking him here. Hojat Kajevand is apparently a pretty dominant submission artist once his fights get to the ground. And he's only lost recently to a heel hook by another submission artist and Will Fleury on the feet, which is understandable. Kamil Onizuk's last win was by leg kick KO against a 35-24 opponent in Cave MMA. Everybody else in major MMA promotions, he's lost to. Some by being finished on the ground, and that's where I think Kajevand's special talent in the cage comes into play. Since Kamil presents no real threat to him on the feet besides his kicks, I think Kajevand will manage to get him down to the ground at some point and just hammer away. And with how fragile Kamil's chin and overall perseverance seem to be, I think he'll give up his back and cover up, trying to avoid the punches of Hojat, and eventually gets his neck taken for the relatively easy rear naked choke in round 2. Hojat's putting more than 1 bump into this camel, as he's had experience with them in Iran. Iran, #1, USA, Hak Tour. Rest in peace, Iron Sheik.
Oh, and by the way, thank you so much, Isha, for that $2. Much appreciated. It will go towards some much needed things for this podcast. Also, Mushad is in the chat. He says salam alaikum, my friend.
Yeah, very respectful for that culture.
I've found a picture of Cave MMA.
Uh-oh.
I want to show you. You know, Cave MMA 2. This is the main event. Looking like some cavemen fighting that promotion, does it not?
Looking like Gollum replicated himself in the lab and fighting for a fish in the cave.
Straight up. All right.
What?
Bro, who would win in a fight? A Chimp or Kevin Holland with Chandler? Wow. Look, isn't it like aren't chimps like however many times stronger than humans? I think that a chimp's probably beaten Francis
Yeah,
Ngannou.
he'd bite Kevin Holland's face off. So
Yeah,
he probably wouldn't be talking that much anymore. The
it's
loudmouth.
probably not a fair fight. Hank, do you know who would win in a fight between a grizzly bear and a gorilla?
I think we've discussed this before. Would it be? It's a gorilla, ain't it? I'm picking a gorilla.
A fight between a gorilla and a grizzly bear would not even be close. That's because a gorilla's skin is much like ours, and a bear's skin is much thicker than ours.
I see.
The gorilla would bleed out before the bear would even take much damage at all.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go.
Interesting facts there. This is why you guys watch the show.
The question is, what if the gorilla just screamed or while the bear was running at him and he's like, "Oh!" and then ran to the right, Because
but we're talking about like a straight up, like a scrap between a gorilla and a grizzly bear.
Yeah. Bear wins.
It wouldn't even be close. Wouldn't even be competitive. All right, so let's get into the first big event of the weekend here. It is going to be Morell Jr. versus David Benavidez. I'll scroll up the card, Hank, and if there's a fight you want to talk about,
sure,
just let me know. I guess starting off, though, is Kermel Mutton coming back. Now, do you know anything about Kermel?
I think I picked him before as a lock. I believe, yeah,
okay.
I picked him when he was like 100% favorite on Tapology.
So I think that in his last fight he had a sort of a fraud checking in boxing is different than it would be in MMA. Like in MMA, your fraud check is like you got knocked out. In boxing, it's like you had a bad performance. So he had a bad performance. I think a lot of people are
counting him out.
Not so high on him anymore. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Did he lose his last boxing match?
No, he's still undefeated.
Oh, he's still undefeated. I don't care if it's a bad performance. The way that boxing judging goes and regulations and the point system, I always gotta give the edge to the favorite. Well, not always. But I'm just saying that just because you have a bad performance doesn't mean your career is over. I know in boxing it matters more, but I've seen boxers come back from worse.
Got you. Yeah, so I'm going to pick him by knockout. I think they're probably maybe seeing that he had a bad performance or some pushback. You're probably going to give him an even softer landing this time, in my opinion.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at my Tapology picks for this. I think I completely zoned out and forgot about this. I picked Zaldivar by decision because he was one of the big upsets potentially on the card. So forget everything I said before. People were telling me that Zaldivar was a tough SOB who had a solid enough record, and Moten hasn't faced the highest caliber of competition going into this. So
not at all.
Guess I'm picking Zaldivar.
Okay, well, that's going to make me switch my pick to decision then. Isha says Grizzlies are beat pretty much every animal on the land, pound for pound, the beast. The only competitive fight, if we're talking animals, would be between a grizzly bear and a tiger of similar size, by the way. And that's actually happened in the wild. Andrew B says, let's be friends again. Dude, Andrew, my friend. Look, dude, I do not understand this. I think you're too sensitive. Whatever made you get the indication that we're friends? All I ever said was that I don't need a mod. So you being a mod and being in stream, we appreciate you being in stream, but you don't have to do anything. You're not obligated to do modly duties because honestly, our channel is just not big enough. We don't necessarily need a mod.
Right.
So Hank made you a mod. That was his decision. It's also his channel, so he can make people mods. But
that's right.
Anyway, there's no beef, man. Good to see you, Tress. And what is up, Drunken Boxing? You came in at the right moment. We're talking boxing right now.
I think Trace is super happy that I picked Frank Zaldivar.
Hell yeah.
Pride, baby.
Nobody is talking about the scuffle between Jamal and Yuri at the after party. Jamal was throwing eggs.
Wait.
Jamal...
Stop. read the rest before you.
I see it, but yeah, okay. I was like, I think if there was an actual scuffle, I would have known about it.
Yeah.
He said, "Wait, hold
likes
on. I want to read the. I'm going to read the rest of it." He said, "Jamal, quit throwing eggs at me." Got you.
I see.
Anyway, so the next fight that has some interest to me is going to be the older brother of David Benavidez. That'd be Jose Benavidez Jr. You know anything about this guy?
Oh yeah. So is he the brother of Joseph Benavidez Jr.?
David Benavidez.
David Benavidez.
Their father is Jose Benavidez, and he's their trainer.
Well, I know that I picked him by decision against this Burger fella. What is his record? I got to take a look. 19-9 against a 28-3. Let me look at these past results. So yeah, Jose Benavidez lost to Jamal Charlo recently. Bounced back with a win before that, and then lost to Danny Garcia via majority decision. But a lot of people think that Benavidez Jr. still has it somewhat. That he has the basic skills to beat this 19-9 guy. That's what I heard.
So
he's
Jose
dealing with big fights.
Jose Benavidez has only lost to like big names in his career.
Right.
I actually thought he won quite a few fights that he has lost, especially that Danny Garcia one. The thing about Jose Benavidez is I would say if we're talking about high-level boxers, he doesn't have like the most skill. He's just more looking for like a brawl. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like he gets outboxed.
Right.
What would be my assertion of him? But at this point in his career, like largely a journeyman. But I think this guy right here, without really doing any research, I think that Benavidez has got this one. I'm going to pick him by decision. Yeah. So let's get to the next pick. Jesus Ramos versus Jason Rosario. These are two pretty good names. I don't know anything about them, but definitely a fight you should tune into. Do you have a pick for this fight?
Yes, I believe I picked Ramos by knockout. I believe against Rosario, just because Rosario hasn't been on the best streak as of late. He's getting draws, he's getting losses, some by knockout, some by decision, and meanwhile, this guy Ramos, he's been winning most of his fights by knockout. So I feel
we
like
got like kind of a guy on the way up in Ramos versus a guy kind of on the slide, or older guy in the sport, and Jason Rosario.
Difference in momentum, yeah.
Good stuff. Enough. I'm going to steal your pick on that one. So then I guess the next fight of any consequence will be Isaac Cruz coming back, fighting Angel Fierro, who I thought Isaac Cruz was a champ in a weight division.
Yes, he was. And then he lost. He lost his last fight by split decision to this other guy. I think he was from Argentina, I think it was Venezuela. He lost.
I watched the fight. I'm not remembering it.
It was on the Terrence Crawford versus
the card in LA.
Yes,
got it.
So and he just got whooped. I wouldn't say whooped, but I'd say figured out pretty much.
Okay, so Isaac Cruz,
Jose Valenzuela. That's why I thought he was from Venezuela.
Valenzuela. Okay, got you. So Pitbull Cruz, obviously very fun. Gets a lot of sick knockouts. Has a style like Mike Tyson, peekaboo style. But I feel like when Isaac Cruz is dominating his opponent, obviously we all love him and he's exciting. But I think the Isaac Cruz lacks some boxing, skill. Just straight up boxing. He's just looking for that knockout. And sometimes, and now it's coming back to me on that card. I was like, dude, I think Isaac Cruz is KO or bust. So, in that same vein, this guy Angel Fierro, I think his record is 22-2-1 or something like that. Like
2-2.
22-2-2. Okay, got you. Pretty damn good record. But I'm gonna go with Isaac Cruz to get this one done by knockout. We'll stay in the 6th round.
Yeah, and I have Cruz by decision instead of by knockout. Because Angel Fierro, he's against this guy, Brian Zamaripa. He won a split decision to him in 2023, and then he lost to Alfredo Santiago in his last fight, unanimous 10 rounds. Is this going to be 10 rounds? I think so, right?
Yes, 10 rounder.
Yeah. What was Isaac Cruz's last fight at? 12 rounds. I think that benefits
It
Cruz.
was for a belt.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the less rounds he has to potentially get the tide turned on him, I think the better it is for Cruz. But at the same time, I'm not going to go completely with his one-punch knockout ability here, just because the other guy, the guy he's facing, hasn't lost. He's never lost by knockout, so he's tough. I do think though that Cruz's combinations are probably going to be better. I think he's going to learn a lot of lessons from that last fight and sort of tune some things up and be more clean in the striking and maybe even a little less reckless. So I got Cruz to win a decision so that to make sure that he bounces back.
There you go. Mushad, I don't know how to say your name, so I am totally butchering your name. I apologize. He says, is Bo Nickel annoying?
I think so, just because every once in a while, whenever he's on an interview or a podcast or something, he just says something that drives people fucking nuts. Whether it's like, oh, everybody on my team was telling me, dude, I was perfect against Paul Craig, nothing to worry about. And then recently he was like, oh yeah, Alexander Volkanovski's going to fight Ilya Topuria in a rematch for UFC 314. It's not official, but that's what I heard from somebody. And then, Twitter was like, what? How do you know that? And then Bo was like, it's not official, guys. I didn't do anything wrong. Okay. I think he's just a freaking jock. And
Hank has very strong opinions on fighters. I'll tell you that I don't really care either way. I'll just say that if Bo Nickel was knocking dudes out and subbing him, I don't think that people would think he was as annoying as he's perceived to be.
I think he definitely shouldn't have been thought of as annoying before, I think, the last couple of fights.
Got it. Ippo, what's up, dude? Channel member. Good to see you. He says, give me your UFC picks, you filthy casuals. Just wait. We'll get there, my friend. He says, I think Gabby Garcia can knock out any boxer. There you go. Gabby Garcia is a goat. All right, there you go. I think she could sub any boxer. If you want, I can cover the two main fight from Muay Thai. Just give me time to type. You can Chummy boy, we're gonna have to figure something out because we'll talk off camera, but there is a room for some Muay Thai coverage, and I don't know enough about it, and neither does Hank. So we just cover the big stuff, but we'll talk off camera sometime, my friend. Don't you worry. But we are glad to have you in the chat. Ramos, I heard that Isaac Cruz ducked Ryan Garcia.
Not sure. I can neither confirm nor deny. Although I do think there were a lot of rumors about them fighting.
When you talk about ducking in boxing, you have to consider the fact that there's teams and contracts and like not everybody's under the same umbrella. So
there's a lot of ducking.
At this point, I don't even know if Ryan is signed to any one particular promotion. Nope. So
not even
as far as Isaac Cruz ducking him, I don't know how strong the case is for that. I certainly haven't really heard anything about that, but teach their own. Cruz throws well to the body. Yeah, he does. That is a good mention. Thank you for that, Scott.
I think he's just technical enough to do it.
Got you. Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton Jr. A rematch. Do you know anything about these two, Hank?
Stephen Fulton recently got knocked out by Naoya Inoue. Has he had a fight since? I don't think
he's had a few fights since.
Okay. Yeah.
At least one.
He's bouncing back. Now he's taking on the champion once again. Brandon Figueroa. Apparently they fought once before and the decision was sort of controversial. I think wasn't it given to Fulton, but a lot of people thought that Figueroa took it.
It was given to Fulton. And I'll talk about that fight. But yeah, I'm interested to hear your breakdown.
Yeah. I think that Figueroa has a good amount of power. I think Stephen Fulton needs to win this thing by decision by just sort of picking at Figueroa at range, sort of like he did the last time, and just making sure to stay out of trouble. Whereas Brandon Figueroa, he's very motivated. I think he has power. And I think he's in a championship level mentality where I just think he'll put two and two together. This is one of the few. God, it just sucks because remember when I picked that one guy to win the rematch when he barely lost last time, and then he just got his jaw broken in round one.
Bobby O'Wardley versus Fraser Clark.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm scared about this one, honestly, because I'm picking the guy who lost the last time to win the second time around. But I really do think that Brandon Figueroa has changed a lot as a boxer since last they fought. And Stephen Fulton, I think, is still great technically. I think he's fantastic at picking his opponents apart piece by piece, round by round. But I think that Figueroa is just a brawler, and I think he can get it done. I think he's in his prime right now, whereas Fulton's sort of he's still good, but I think if he continues the same game plan he did for the last fight, I think he's going to pay.
So Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton, their first fight was actually one of the first boxing cards I watched. I think it was a Bud Crawford. It might have been the Bud Crawford versus. My gosh, he's a broadcaster now. He's retired.
I'm gonna look it up.
Bud retired him. Oh my god, why am I having such a hard time remembering who it was? It's gonna bother me.
I'm here.
Sean Porter. Sean Porter. It was the Bud Crawford versus Sean Porter card, I think. Mm-hmm. And these two were on the undercard. And let me tell you, that fight was so good. It was a banger. You know when boxers they don't clinch a lot, but they kind of go like head to head and they're real close, glove to glove, and then they're just like dirty boxing, like in a sort of clinch.
Yeah,
dude, it was that for like the majority, like maybe 8 entire rounds. I think Stephen Fulton was the champ, so it was a 12-rounder. So yeah, it was a very close fight.
Figueroa versus Fulton was the headliner, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
I do remember, it might have been the same night. It might have been the same night as a Bud Crawford card.
Yeah.
But I do remember watching it regardless. And it was such a fantastic fight. Now, as far as people saying it was controversial, after the fight, Brandon Figueroa was, and it was like a crowd that was very favorable to him.
Right.
Brandon Figueroa was like, "What the heck?" And the crowd booed. So, as far as like who won the fight and who didn't, I honestly don't think it matters because the fight was just so fantastic. It was so hard to judge.
Very back and forth.
Yeah. So, and then so you look at that, and that is actually what got Stephen Fulton the fight with Naoya Inoue.
Apparently,
and so since then,
apparently Fulton, his last win was against Carlos Castro by split, and that he's only had one fight.
I was going to get into that. So, so Stephen Fulton had another fight in June of that year. Then he fought Inoue, and this was that was his title defense. Mm-hmm. He then actually unified titles with Figueroa. Then he got knocked out by Inoue. Came back like quite a bit of time after that, and yes, got a split decision win against Carlos Castro, who, funny enough, was one of actually the only knockout that Brandon Figueroa has ever had on his career was Carlos Castro.
Wow.
He then beat Mark Magsayo, who was a pretty damn good fighter.
That was another point that a lot of people were making, was that Fulton had a really close decision against the guy that Figueroa knocked out flat as an introduction to the weight division. So there's a difference in who can beat the other guy.
And also, well, when you talk about knockouts at this weight class, like these guys are so small that it doesn't happen a lot. So like even the fact that Inoue is able to get so many knockouts is impressive.
Amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, so he then had another banger of a fight with Jesse Magdaleno. So yeah, now the rematch is happening, and I think that like Fulton being on the decline is certainly possible. But as far as him being like washed and Figueroa is going to knock him out, I'm just not sure about that. I think this would be a close fight. I love this fight so much. Just because you're picking Brandon Figueroa, I'm going to pick Stephen Fulton officially by decision. But honestly, I have no idea who's going to win. I think it's going to be another close, just fantastic boxing match. So
looking forward to that.
Let's get into this one. David Benavidez versus David Morell. A lot of two guys that people have been saying Canelo should be fighting. One's more so than the other, that being Benavidez. Benavidez is a guy that I have watched for a few years now. Always in a fantastic fight. Has a style similar to his brothers, but I would say he has more cardio, he applies even more pressure because of that cardio and more power, obviously being the bigger guy as well. The thing that interests me the most about this fight is I really, really wish it was at 168. It is taking place at 175 for the interim light heavyweight titles. Presumably, the winner of this fight will go on to fight whoever wins Bivol versus Beterbiev 2. So this being at 175 is very interesting because these guys have done a majority of their best work at 168, and both of them going up to light heavyweight, they were criticized heavily. I watched both of those performances. I didn't think David Benavidez looked bad. He's going up against a former title holder, and I think the guy might have even won a medal at the Olympics. I think his name is escaping me at the moment, but very reputable boxer. Morell, on the other side, his debut in the weight class, he looked extremely sloppy. And in my opinion, he looked bad, and there was a case he might have even lost that fight. Just from what I watched, if he didn't lose the fight outright, he at least lost like the later half of the fight. You know what I'm saying? So it left kind of a bad image in my mind.
By the way, the Olympic opponent was Alexander Gvodzik.
Vodzik. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Vodzik, this guy.
Yeah, Vodzik. Mm-hmm. So Benavidez had a way more reputable opponent than Morell. Morell was kind of going up against like a straight up journeyman, and the journeyman looked good against him. So it was weird seeing that, and then based off of that, they're making this interim fight. Super strange. I mean, again, and this is actually a consequence of Canelo not fighting either of these two. And now they're fighting each other, which again, it's a smart business move on Canelo's end, if you ask me, but not what the fans want to see, not what I want to see either. That being said, David Benavidez, I've always picked him. I've always been like, dude, Benavidez is going to win. Even when he fought Caleb Plant, people were trying to tell me, oh, dude, Caleb Plant's going to knock him out. I was like, Caleb Plant's going to knock him out? I'm like, dude, Benavidez is going to smoke him. And it was competitive for a little while, but Benavidez got it done by knockout. So I'm going to pick David Benavidez again here. And I'm going to, it was, okay, thank you. I think he dropped him, but I'm going to pick David Benavidez here. And I'm going to pick him by knockout. I think he's going to wear on Morell. And I'm going to say he gets it done in the 10th round.
There it is. Caleb Plant, unanimous decision, 12 rounds.
I think he had dropped them at one point.
Yeah, for sure. I am also going with Benavidez by decision, though, because I feel like a lot of these marquee main events in boxing are going to decision, especially when they're involving big names. Surprisingly, like for bigger weight classes,
I picked Benavidez by knockout in the 10th.
I know, exactly. I know.
Okay.
It's what I'm
You said decision too.
I'm considering switching a little bit. After the show, I'll probably switch to knockout, to be honest. People were saying David Morell just has a granite chin. The dude is just really, really hard to knock out. And he always just puts on the pressure, just slowly but surely, builds up the pace, pushes his opponents against the ropes, and then just has at it. Whereas I didn't know that David Morell looked super sloppy in his last fight. You can look at a win on paper, Anthony Smith style, rest in peace, and be like, oh, hey, he won his last fight. Oh, he's on this great win streak. He looks great. But unless you watch the actual boxing match, it's hard to get a definitive read on how he's going to do in another fight. So learning that he looked pretty bad or didn't look as good as people expected him to against a worse opponent, I think Benavidez is definitely going to win now. And I think the fact that he's so loosey-goosey and sloppy, according to Idaho, I think he is going to find the knockout. I think Benavidez is going to, Morell is going to leave his chin up there a little bit for Benavidez to crack. So
the thing about Morell is for a long time he held some crazy, weird secondary title in the weight class, and he was fighting guys that had decent records on paper, but just he just made them look like clowns, and the fights didn't go very long. So David Benavidez has had way more high-level opponents, and he's put in the work. And if he's not the favorite in this fight, I'd be shocked. So he's got to be the favorite. I don't know the odds. But to me, dude, I don't even think this is going to be that tough of a fight for David Benavidez. I think he gets it done in the 10th round.
Only a minus 155 favorite against Morell.
Insane. Well, man, maybe not insane. He should be the favorite, but yeah, dude, David Benavidez gets this done easy, and I would be interested to hear anybody who's picking Morell and why, because I just don't even see the case for Morell in this fight, personally, especially up at this weight class. I think that both men are pretty big for 168, but I think David Benavidez is the bigger of the two. Tai agrees with me, says Benavidez, man. All right, man. So that is going to wrap up.
I want to read a few more comments. 1 second.
Yeah.
Gabby is the GOAT. Shout out to M1 Halobo. Big shout out to them. I wouldn't bet a draw in the Benavidez Morell fight because they hate each other and they both have power. And I think that informs Idaho's belief. Do they actually hate each other, Idaho? Did you hear anything about beef?
In my opinion, if there is hate from either side, it's displaced hate, and it should be going probably toward Canelo, who they haven't gotten a fight with. It's probably more frustration that either of them have gotten a Canelo fight, and they're just projecting onto one another.
Battle of the David says drunken boxing. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about this fight. There's no Goliath for the David. It's just two Davids shucking rocks at each other and seeing who wins. Although I will say that Benavidez was probably the Goliath here. So yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, and a Kobe.
Good to see a Kobe.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's get right into it. UFC Saudi Arabia. Hamdi Abdel Wahab coming back after a PED suspension.
That's right.
Going up against everybody's favorite crier on the Dana White Contender Series to get into the promotion. It's Jamal Pogues. This is taking place at heavyweight. Hamdi, the Hammer, Abdel Wahab, is 3-0. But for some reason, some of these fights don't count. I don't understand that. And he had his win against Dontel Mays turned into a no contest. Or was it a split draw? I'm not sure. Jamal Pogues on the other end.
Yeah, for sure.
Got you. Jamal Pogues is 11-4. He is 4-1 in his last 5. His last win came against Thomas Peterson, and his loss came to Mick Parkin. Also beating Josh Parisian, who is no longer with the promotion. Hamdi is this is actually a pickup. -110 on either side. Hamdi is from Egypt. He's 32. Jamal Pogues, 29 from Cali. So Hamdi is somebody that DC trained with, and he's like, hey, this guy, he's fantastic wrestler out of there in Egypt. Jamal Pogues, on the other hand, is a pretty damn good boxer, I think, that we found out over the course of his short UFC career, and a guy that you would want to fade, but somehow he just ends up getting it done.
Find a way.
Yeah. So now, in my opinion, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, how's Hamdi going to look after coming off of steroids?" My opinion on steroids is pretty clear. I think that most fighters are on the juice. I think that a drug test in sports is just an IQ test at this point. But I think it will play somewhat of a factor.
Lots of Middle Eastern.
I understand why this is a pick'em. This is basically just striker versus grappler. I think that we're gonna go with the region bias in this one and just say Hamdi gets it done by decision. But let me tell you, man, Jamal Pogues is a guy that you count out all the time, and sometimes he gets it done, and you're just like, oh, damn it, I should have picked Jamal Pogues. So we'll see if that happens again in this fight.
Yeah, Josh Parisian and Thomas the Train Peterson. Pretty good upsets. That being said, I am going with Hamdi Abdel Wahab by decision. One guy's nicknamed the Hammer. The other guy's nicknamed the Stormtrooper. Should I keep going as to why I'm picking Hamdi over Pogues? Okay, I will. We've got time for it. First of all, Hamdi's been caught taking banned substances a few times now in his career, just like Idaho said. It's why we haven't seen him in the UFC for 2 years. With the loose rules and regulations of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, I wonder if he'll be entirely clean going into this fight. And that stands to benefit him. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Viva la raza, Holmes. With Jamal Pogues' waist, do you think he's on something?
From Egypt. He's not Mexican.
Yeah, I know, but it's it's the Los Guerreros. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And I know you.
It's in the notes. I got it.
Yeah. With Jamal Pogues' waist, do you think he's on something compared to Hamdi? I don't think so. Secondly, Hamdi Abdel Wahab is an Olympic Greco-Roman wrestler. with power on the feet.
Greco-Roman wrestling.
Wrestler, I must smash you, brother. Kill everybody, brother. There's really no escape for Pogues and his outpoint
about
range style
Iron
strike.
Sheik.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he is Greco-Roman. You're right. Anyway, his outpoint at range style.
How did I know that and you didn't?
I did know that. I just didn't mention.
Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah. There's a video of him going like this with the freaking paddles, and he apparently used to do that before his Greco-Roman career. And
All right, I'm
after.
sorry for ever bringing up wrestling. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Boo. When he's dealing with the tainted force of nature that's going to get him down more than once in this fight, and even if he doesn't, will make it a dogfight on the feet and swing at Jamal Pogues with everything he's got until he lands and Pogues gets dropped and he can't see a thing in his helmet. Either way, stand up or ground game, Pogues is in for a long night, and unless he can stick to his game plan for 3 whole rounds, which I don't think he can, Pogues is in for a world of hurt. I'm thinking pinning and bodying on the ground, no diddy. Since this is a heavyweight and the UFC's fighters in this weight division aren't necessarily the best at getting back on the feet. By the time the hammer starts hitting the nail, Pogues will be screaming for the officials to open the cage door, open the cage door. Hamdi by clear decision win. Very clear.
So you're saying that Hamdi has hands?
Yeah. Apparently he's got some power. That's what I've heard from people. So.
Okay. I didn't know that. What is up, Rick? He says, some say that once, long ago, Eric Nixick was seen in public without a baseball cap, but it was a very long time ago. I don't believe you, Rick. I don't believe you. Nixick sleeps with that baseball cap. That's funny.
There was this guy coach in GFL who like had the hat on every time he was on screen, and then when the camera was off, he'd take the hat off, and he's got like a huge bald patch, and so he's like, "Oh shit, everyone, cap." I wonder if Eric Nixick has that same feeling.
Maybe that's why. Olympic wrestler with big power on the juice in Saudi. All right, there you go. Our next fight will be Bogdan Grad versus Lucas Alexander. This is taking place at featherweight. Bogdan Grad, 14-2. He is from Austria. His last win came against Michael Aswell by split decision on the Contender Series to get into the promotion. He's 29. And then Lucas Alexander on the other side. I don't remember this guy. Saragi.
Yeah, Jekka Saragi knocked him out with a random ass overhand right.
Okay, got it. And then Steven Peterson. So he is 3-2 in his last 5. He is from Rio de Janeiro. He's 29. Having quite a bit of height and reach on Bogdan as well in this fight. Yep. I know I've seen these guys fight. I know I watched Bogdan Grad's getting into the UFC. I think his fight with Michael Aswell was pretty close and it was competitive.
Yes.
I'm kind of out on these two. Let me see if there's odds for this really quick. Yes, Bogdan Grad is the slight favorite. I think I'm going to let Hank kind of break this one down and then I'll make a pick.
I'm going with Lucas Alexander by round 2 knockout. I'm going Idaho's way and picking against the Contender Series fighter who's making his UFC debut. Unfortunately, it isn't Bogdan Guskov taking this fight, but Bogdan Grad, who isn't as powerful on the feet and has way worse striking defense. I get it. He's had some nice finishes on the regional scene. Every Contender Series fighter does. And beat 9-1 Michael as well on Contender Series by the narrowest of margins to earn his UFC contract. But he doesn't have experience in the biggest MMA promotion in the world on the same level that Lucas Alexander has. And Lucas has looked pretty clean in his striking as of late compared to Bogdan Jr. He looked solid and consistent on the feet against fellow UFC vet Steven Peterson and was piecing up Jekka Saragi before that big right hand out of nowhere put him out flat. I don't think Grad's going to have the same one-punch knockout power that Jekka had in Lucas' last fight. And over time, as the cracks in his striking defense begin to show, I think Alexander will really start to tune him up, and I think even get a surprise finish. That is if he doesn't slip and get chinned out of nowhere first. But lightning doesn't strike twice in my view, unless you're trying to book Ferguson versus Habib. So give me Lucas to survive the first round and put his combinations together until it's too much for the second round knockout. The Lions unleashing this time on the Unleashed, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have another great Alexander in the UFC. A man can dream.
Good stuff. Lucas Alexander got knocked out a year and 2 months ago, and Bogdan just fought 4 months ago to get into the UFC. I think this is a close one, but I'll probably go Alexander by decision. It sounds like these guys are both largely strikers as well, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that one. Our next fight will be Jazz versus Myro Bueno Silva, taking place at flyweight. Jasmine is 12-3. She's 4-1 in her last 5. Fighter out of Canada. She is 35. She is the minus 225 favorite in this match. Myro Bueno Silva, 10-4. She is 2-1 in her last 5. She's 33. She's plus 185 as the dog in this one. Mara Bueno Silva, her last 2 losses were to Macy Chiasson and Raquel Pennington. Was it a draw or did she get popped?
She got popped.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So I would say Mara Bueno Silva is an interesting one. Also interesting that this is taking place at flyweight because Bueno Silva was mostly a bantamweight fighter, right?
Yep.
And Jasmine Jasovicius has had fights at bantamweight as well. Am I incorrect in saying that? I think she may have had one that was like short notice or something. Anyway, Bueno Silva being a 35er coming down to flyweight, I think flyweights are just much more skilled than 35ers. I don't think that that's crazy to say. But, you know, Myro Bueno Silva has this this way of like, I don't know, almost doing nothing in the fight, but like doing enough to win. She is known to hold her opponents and just kind of just lay in bottom on guard.
Yep.
That's going to be tough for her to beat the wrestling of Jasmine Jasovicius.
Yeah. By the way, originally set to be a flyweight bout, Capoeira had trouble making weight, after which the fight between her and Jasuda Vicious was changed to a bantamweight bout, and Jasuda Vicious won it by Anaconda choke in round 3 based.
Got it. Okay. So, and this will be Bueno Silva's debut in the weight class. So, I think that the only way Bueno Silva wins this fight is if she just somehow, because we've seen her do it before, if she just somehow throws up a sub and catches Jasmine as she's working to advance position or do some ground and pound. And that I think that's really the only way. But I think that being said, I don't think it's unlikely. I just think that Jasmine Jasovicius has probably got this one in the bag. That's reflective in the odds as well. I'm going to pick Jazzy to get this one done by decision. And really, I mean, this is her time because she is 35. She's not super old, but a lot of these younger girls at flyweight are coming up, and this is her time to get a big win. Former title challenger is Bueno Silva. So yeah, you know, I think this will be Jazzy's time to shine, and I hope that she has a good performance because not the worst fighter to watch. Sometimes it's a little boring because she is really wrestling heavy, but you can tell she's very skilled on the ground. And
yeah,
Mara Bueno Silva is. Go ahead. Sorry.
And she finds the sub on occasion. She finds cool chokes.
Myro Bueno Silva is the fighter that half the time I just don't understand what the game plan is.
Right. And
she has, you know, serviceable striking, but not exciting striking. And a lot of times she just does nothing on the ground. So yeah, give me Jazzy J.
Sometimes I wonder if Myro Bueno Silva even knows what her game plan is going to be. But give me Jazzy J, just like Idaho said. Jasmine the Vicious won by decision. Haven't lost to Jasmine Jasuda Vicious pick so far in this podcast history, and I won't this time either. Give me the Vicious one to win by decision. The reason why being that Myro Bueno Silva can be dangerous on the feet and can lock up out-of-nowhere submissions when she wants to. But on her back, Silva's looked like a fish out of water. No bueno. Muy no bueno. If Raquel Pennington was able to slip her head out of every submission Silva had locked in on her, I got no doubt that Jasmine can do the same. Just like Rocky did, just as Macy Chiasson did. People forget, man. Macy Chiasson bodied her on the ground. Pulled a Moicano with the elbow that caused the cut that got it stopped. Silva tends to wear herself out in the grappling over time. Maybe she's thankful she's accidentally took a supplement against Holly Holm because she sure needs it now. I think it's going to look bad for Jasmine in the first round because she always gets pieced up on the feet to start the fight. She does it. She has a bad poker face too, so you can tell when you hit her. And over time, they engage in some wrestling. Jasmine's wrestling outweighs Silva's BJJ. She's able to do enough damage and submission attempts for 2 out of the 3 rounds to earn herself the unanimous decision win. Princess Jasmine is better than Chitara, and that's facts. So give me Jazzy J.
All right, our next fight will be taking place at lightweight. It's Terrence McKinney versus Damir Hadzovic. Terrence McKinney is he's 2-3 in his last 5. He is minus 350 as the favorite. He's 30. Damir Hadzovic, on the other hand, is 2-3 in his last 5 as well. 14-7 is his record. He is plus 275 as the underdog. He's 38, fighting out of Denmark, but he's Bosnian. His last fight was 2 years and 6 months ago to Mark DeCasey. His last win was Yancy Medeiros by decision. Wow. Terrence McKinney, his loss streak is much different than Damir's because every time Terrence McKinney loses, it's in spectacular fashion. And every time he wins, it's in spectacular fashion. I don't think this guy has ever went to a decision. But yes, his last loss to Esteban Ribovic 8 months ago was incredibly vicious. One of the worst knockouts I've seen in a hot minute.
You can see the pain on his face. It landed right on the button.
The thing about this fight, man, is obviously Terrence McKinney, the visual of his last fight is just like, you're just like, oh my gosh, should he even be fighting? You know what I'm saying? One thing to note is like, when you watch the progression of fighter knockouts, when somebody gets hurt, like the first knockout is like they get hurt, they get ground and pounded, fight's over. Next fight, they get hurt and they get ground and pounded and they go out. The next fight, they get knocked out, they go out. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse over time. And Terrence McKinney is at that point where he gets hurt and he is just flatlined. So is Damir Hadzovic the guy to flatline McKinney? I don't know. I'm going to say not. And you know what? Terrence McKinney has bit me in the butt a lot of the time that I've picked him. I did say I was going to fade him in his next fight, but I'm going to go back on that. I'm going to actually pick Terrence McKinney here. I'm going to pick him to get it done by knockout because this guy's never been to the cards. And we'll just say in round 1 because that's pretty much where he gets it done. It's inside the first round, first couple minutes of the fight, actually. If that doesn't happen, I could totally see a world where he loses this fight by knockout or something. The thing that gives me pause is just that Damir is 38, hasn't fought in 2.5 years. Terrence McKinney, actually, they have pretty similar stats. He does have a slight reach advantage. But yeah, I'm going to go McKinney here by knockout. I think that the UFC is trying to get him a bounce back win. But again, don't quote me on that. I'm not very confident in that. Just based on where Terrence McKinney's at with his chin at this point.
Yeah, I like that line of thinking. I'm going with Terrence McKinney by round 1 knockout as well. I'm not going to die on the hill of McKinney finding a submission in the first round here. Even though he's had plenty of submissions on the ground in his career. People forget, man, before he had those 5-second round 1 knockouts, he was actually on sort of a submission streak before he, I believe, faced Favola, and then bam, the one-punch knockout came. But yeah, I'm not going to pick him by submission because I just find it more likely, even if McKinney gets this scrub Damir Hadzovic down to the mat, that he'll be looking for a knockout or TKO and not a chokehold. He hasn't gotten a sub since 2022. And in his most recent knockout, he ground and pounded, no diddy, professional jobber Brendan Marotte to get him out of there. So he'll be ready to put this guy out wherever the fight goes. To show you just how much of a layup this guy, Damir Ismagulov, is, he allowed himself to get out-wrestled by Mark Diakhedze, who's now fighting for the PFL under its defunct Bellator series, which should tell you what level of quality in MMA he's at right now. T-Rex Arms Terrence can take Damir down whenever he wants to here. And once this thing's on the mat, the Bosnian's going to bomb. Not from his fists, but his performance. Silly rabbit, squash fights are for kids. Although I will say there is a slight chance Terrence still somehow gets chinned here. He's Terrence McChinney after all, someone in the comments said. So take the prediction with a pinch of salt.
There you go. Yeah, Larry says McKinney gets a sub or TKO. What is up, Chad King? Good to see you. Well, good to see you for me. Probably not for Hank because you're always giving him the business.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't like Hank's content, just don't watch it, man. I don't know what else to tell you, man. But yeah, glad to see you anyway.
He's a hater.
Larry says Ribovic KO over McKinney was so good it left McKinney smiling when he was out cold on the camera. That was so brutal. Chiesa was McKinney's high school wrestling coach. Yeah. So those guys are from Spokane, not too far from here. It's like 9 hours, but when you live in Idaho, like 5-hour drive is like nothing.
Nothing.
But anyway, yeah. So
it explains why McKinney is able to find submissions. I mean, learn from Chiesa.
Yeah, for sure. Also, they train with Juliana Pena, Hank's favorite fighter. Next fight will be Shamil Gaziev versus Thomas Peterson. Thomas Peterson, this taking place at heavyweight. Shamil Gaziev is 13-1. He is 4-1 in his last 5. He's minus 400 as a heavy favorite. He's 34. Thomas Peterson, the Train. Not Nate. No relation to Nate the Train. Yeah. He is 9-2-0. He is 4-1 in his last 5. Sorry, my lights went out, so my brain's like fucking farting right now. He is plus 300 as an underdog. He's 29. So Thomas Peterson, you were crapping all over him because he beat Jamal Pogues, and you're like, that doesn't mean anything. And then he beat Muhammad Usman, which I actually picked Usman to win. I don't think I've gotten a pick right of this guy since he's been in the UFC. On the other side, Shamil Gaziev retired against Rosenstrike because he was so gassed. Then he won a decision over Dontel Mays. Come on. For that, getting a knockout over Martin Boudin, and we were like, oh, wow, this guy's actually really good. And then his last 2 fights have kind of been like, I guess he's not.
Shit the bed.
With that being said, I'm still going to ride Shamil Gaziev. Not too much to break down here. I think that Shamil Gaziev is pretty fat, and he's just going to lay on Thomas Peterson, get the win. Don't really have much more analysis for you. What about you, Hank?
I think you're dead on. I'm going with Gaziev by decision. We are agreeing quite a bit on this one. Shamil Gaziev's striking is much more polished and consistent than Thomas Peterson's, even though Peterson's stand-up was trained and improved by the great Alvin Goozy Hines. His combinations are crisp and powerful. He's good in the clinch, and he can lay down some heavy ground and pound. No diddy. I swear we're at like number 3, number 4 by now. On the mat, I just feel like Shamil's more dangerous everywhere. Even if he does have Gaziev cardio, although lucky for him, he's getting yet another 3-round fight here. Sure, Thomas Peterson beat Mo Usman in the striking, but every UFC heavyweight beats Mo Usman in the striking, even the guy that he's beaten. Peterson does have solid takedown defense, though, so I don't think Gaziev finds as much success in the wrestling as people think he will. But on the feet, this thing's a no contest. And no, not a no contest. Fight stopped due to both men being too fat to compete. Just uncompetitive. I don't think Shamil finds a finish since Thomas is a tough dude who's only been knocked out once. And Gaziev couldn't put away Dontel Mays. But he does score a unanimous decision win and hopefully continues to put his winnings into his diet. Thomas the Train is going to be stuck in his limbo tunnel once again. Hopefully the man in the top hat remembers his situation eventually. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. There
you go. Next fight will be at featherweight. It's Muhammad Naimov versus Khan Ofli. Muhammad the Hillman. Wait, what? Hillman? What? Sorry.
He is literally the hills have eyes.
There you go. He is 11-3. He is 4-1 in his last 5. He's from Tajikistan. Minus 260 as the favorite. He's 30. Khan Ofli, 11-3-1. He is 4-1 in his last 5 as well. He is fighting out of Turkey. He is plus 210, 31. Muhammad Naimav's last fight was, that loss to Felipe Lima in Felipe Lima's debut. Shout out to Felipe Lima. He then knocked out Eric Silva. Oh my gosh. Did a leg injury. I remember. Okay. I remember this guy. He's got a funny hat. Daniel Wood, he beat Khan Ofli. His last loss was to Marion Santos by KO. I don't remember that fight. He must have gotten it on short notice.
That was with
who the hell was Khan Ofli?
Cannonier versus Baralho. That was a sick card, by the way. And Santos came around with like the left hook that and Ofli like went limp, and then he got hit 2 more times before he hit the mat. It was brutal.
Dude, I watched the whole card. I just don't remember the fight, and I don't know who Marion Santos is. Wait a second. It's coming back to me. Yeah, okay. He got a sick knockout. That's all I know him for. And it was against Ofli. So
both tough winners.
I don't know.
I can understand you not remembering.
Muhammad Naimov. he's looked good. I mean, knocking out Malarkey was a good win, sort of, at the time. Malarkey just kill or be killed. So it was good to see him scrap with Malarkey. You know what I'm saying? Getting the decision win over Nathaniel Wood, I think, has aged worse than it did at the time. And then Eric Silva, that was a weird knockout. And then Felipe Lima came in on short notice and just smoked him. So I think we know that Naimov isn't like top of the heap. Like, this guy is a destroyer in the weight class. Con Ofli getting knocked out. And so you're telling me that was a season of tough and that was the finale?
Yes, that was the finale. And Santos was the Ultimate Fighter.
So you're going to know more about Con Ofli's game. What is his game? Is it striking? Is it grappling? Mix of both?
It's grappling. It's wrestling.
Okay, got it. So with that being said, I think Naimov gets this one done. I mean, it was a year ago that he got knocked out. Oh, 5 months. Okay. Jeez. I don't think that Naimov might knock this guy out. I'm going to go safe and pick him by decision, though. Hank, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm also going with Naimov by decision. Honestly, got a little worried there, but we have both gone with him by decision. Muhammad Naimov solid on the feet and in the scrambles, as much as that pains me to say. Whereas Con Ofli is all in all a career wrestler with very simple and predictable boxing. And it's shown in his fights that have stayed on the feet for longer than he wanted them to, with Nathan Fletcher tagging him up quite a bit, and Myron Santos essentially taking Ofli's lunch money on the feet before putting him out with the left hook in one of the most brutal knockouts of 2024. I think Ofli's one-dimensional enough that he fails his takedowns, and the more experienced Naimov ends up on top and smash his brother. They call him Hillman for a reason. The hills have eyes. On the feet, Ofli's a victim. On the ground, he's a semi-victim. But given that Naimov has very little finishing ability, at least finishing ability we haven't seen in a while, I think he wins via unanimous decision. And unlike the real Genghis Khan, Con Ofli's campaign is stopping in the Middle East. Hey, look, Lois, it's Mohammed.
Painter. Yeah, I just watched back
the time I went to a Mexican restaurant with Gary Coleman. What you talking about, Willis?
I just watched back that knockout. That was insanely brutal. Larry says Naimov put up a great fight against Lima. Not gonna lie, it was close before the finish. See, I didn't see it that way, but
I had it 1-1 going into the third, and then Lima found the back.
Tai says he got Gazia, but no bet for now. Got it. Hopefully, he did look good until the Ultimate Fighter, excluding he looked good in the Ultimate Fighter, excluding the finale. Got you. So yeah, the next fight, dude. This is a sick fight. Fares Ziam versus Mike Davis at lightweight. Fares Ziam is 16-4. He is 4-1 in his last 5. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He's 27 out of France. Mike Davis, 4-1 on a 4-fight win streak as well. Yep, he is 11-2 overall in his career. He is the slight favorite at -140. Plus 120 is Fares Ziam as the dog. So Mike Davis, man, this guy's awesome. He puts up a good fight every time. He's very skilled. Just for some reason, he hasn't been very active. If we look at his knockout win over Thomas Gifford, which, by the way, was a fight that this is one of the first cards I watched, so I remember it. So
wow, lots of firsts for you going into this.
What's that?
Lots of first cards you ever watched for this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember this because Thomas Gifford was a guy that should have never been anywhere near the UFC. And Mike Davis beat the absolute crap out of this poor kid, and he knocked him out so bad. I remember when he knocked him out, his face hit the canvas, and his nose, like you could see like his nose on the canvas. It was so brutal, and like that kid has never fought again. Anyway, and then a year later, he fights Mason Jones, and then 2 years later, he beats Vyacheslav Borshev, and then gets that sub over Natan Levy. On the other side, Fares Ziam loses gets a sub loss to Terrence McKinney. Beats Ziglak, Jai Herbert, Claudio Pulis by split. Are you kidding me? And then really like his best moment was knocking out Frivola 3 months ago only. Jeez.
Did well against him.
So Fares Ziam is, by the way, he is 6'1", and Mike Davis is 6 foot. Dude, for SZM just looks so huge in the cage. He's very lanky. I would have thought he would have been taller. So yeah, this is a pretty much kickboxing match. I think that's going to favor ZM here. But I do have a soft spot for Mike Davis because the guy is really good. He seems like a nice dude. I like his style, but if I can be totally honest, I think he's slowing down. Like, I think his speed as he fights better and better guys, he's having a speed issue. So just based off the fact that I'm pretty sure this is going to be a kickboxing match, I'm going to pick Fares, and I'm going to pick him by decision because I have so much respect for Mike Davis. But honestly, my respect for him might just be kind of overblowing the pick here. I think it's a fantastic fight, and it shows why the lightweight division is the deepest division in MMA.
And finally, we have a disagreement for this fight card. I am going with Mike Davis by decision. Fight for the UFC, win, take 2 years off, repeat. This is the life that Mike Davis leads, and it's one that he will continue to lead here against Fares Ziam. Ziam was able to stuff the takedowns of Matt Frevola and neutralize his wrestling, but Benoit Saint-Denis was able to do the same thing. And it seems like if Frevola gets you down, it won't be for that long. Davis, on the other hand, smothers his opponents while on top, suffocates them, pins all their limbs down so they can't escape, and then does damage or locks in the submission on top. He's a Venus flytrap in lightweights guards, and I've got a feeling that Mike and Ike is going to get Ziam to the ground sooner and more effectively than Frevola was. Honestly, unable to, and I don't think Ziam's going to be too comfortable or loose in the scrambles this time around. Davis is going to be a beast boy on top, no Diddy. This is bad boy record squad. Bad boy. Can't stop. Won't stop. And at long last, Fares Ziam will lose his smile. Verdict, homicide. After he isn't the one getting his hand raised after 3 rounds. Davis by unanimous decision. See you in another 2 years, old friend. Man, Davis really is a time capsule for trendy haircuts.
No, I love it, dude. This is such a good fight, dude. 2 lightweights on a 4-fight win streak.
Lots of good fights.
I'm glad you mentioned the inactivity of him. I think that's going to play into just my pick personally. But you did mention that, Ziam, he's long, lanky, but he does have some issues on the ground. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it's going to be a banger. Speaking of another fight that's going to be a banger, we have Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira. This is taking place at bantamweight. Said Nurmagomedov is 18-3 overall. He is 4-1 in his last 5. He is minus 185 as a slight favorite. He's fighting out of Makhachkala. He's a Nurmagomedov, but no relation. He is 32. Vinicius Oliveira, Loke Dog, is 21-3. He is 4-0 in his last 5. Or sorry, he is 4-1 in his last 5 on a 4-fight win streak, plus 150 as the underdog. 29 fighting out of Porto Alegre. So Said Nurmagomedov, there's one fight I remember very vividly. It was this fight against Said Yakub Kakramanov.
What a name.
That was such a scrambly, crazy grappling fight. Both guys were just throwing up sub after sub, and Said finally caught him. I think it was a guillotine. Yep. His last win was a sub win over Muin Gafurov, and his last loss was a decision to Jonathan Martinez. Vinicius Oliveira, on the other hand, beat Ricky Simon, who I picked to beat him, knocking out Sopai with that flying knee. And then he got into the UFC with a knockout. So, striker versus grappler again. Jonathan Martinez beating Said makes me want to pick Vinicius Oliveira. I think I'm going to pick him. But Said Nurmagomedov is this guy that kind of, though he has some exciting fights when he has the right matchup, he just for some reason isn't breaking through, and he's not getting big fights that are going to like really move him up in title contention or anything like that. He is 32, but he is in his prime. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I'm not sure exactly what level of fighter Said is at this point. And on the other side, V. Oliveira is just, he's kind of on a roll. He's kind of on a roll right now, and he's coming up. I do think this could be the fight in which we see that first L from Oliveira. Maybe Said's grappling is too much. Maybe Said even gets a sub. But I'm gonna stick with V, and I'm gonna pick him by decision. What about you, Hank?
Another disagreement. I'm going with Saeed. This one I went back and forth on. This was probably one of the closest ones, and rightfully so. This is a great matchup. But I am going with Saeed Nurmagomedov by decision. Happy to be wrong here, but I think Saeed Nurmagomedov presents a greater threat on the feet and on the ground than Vinicius Oliveira's last two opponents, Bernardo Sapage and Ricky Simone. Charles Oliveira, brother, they're going to be the champion. I know the Nurmagomedov name has been dragged through the dirt since Merab humbled Umar, and with their egos and track records, rightfully so. But that doesn't mean all the fighters with the last name, or Dagestanis in general, are suddenly going to lose every fight they have. And I'd say Vinny Oliveira is still somewhat unproven in the UFC's bantamweight division. Ricky Simone is on a 3-fight losing streak now, and he's smaller than Saeed is. Sapage could barely get Ricky Tercios down to the mat at times and got out scrambled sometimes. Vinicius Oliveira doesn't have the highest caliber of UFC bantamweight competition, but his takedown defense is improving, and he's very slick on the feet with cardio as well as knockout power when he needs it. That being said, Saeed, Nurmagomedov's only losses in the UFC have come to Raoni Barcelos, which has aged well given he just humbled undefeated prospect Peyton Talbot, and Jonathan Martinez in a very close decision that some argued Saeed won. So give me Saeed to take down Vinicius when he needs to, and just do enough technically on the feet for 2 out of the 3 rounds to get the unanimous, maybe split decision win. Plus, he's facing an Oliveira, and Russia versus Brazil matchups involving that last name don't tend to go well. Vinicius does have some potential to get an upset here, but he is certainly not a lock, dog. So give me Saeed.
It's funny that you guys are busting out the inbred jokes, and it's funny that you would say that when half the fighters from Brazil have the same last name.
Yeah, battle of the inbreds. There you go. Davis is on the.
I don't want to say that, dude.
Long layoffs, and y'all must have forgot performances. W pun game hang. Thank you.
Don't encourage him. Next fight is Sergey Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik at heavyweight. Pavlovich on a 2-fight losing streak. Fuck. He's 18-3. He is 3 out of 2 in his last 5. Minus 300 as the moderate favorite from Moscow. He is 32. On the other end, you got Biggie Boy, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. 15-5 is his overall record. He is 3-2 in his last 5 out of Suriname. And 36 years old is Jairzinho. Dude. So Jairzinho Rozenstruik was like this scary kickboxer when he came in. And then we've kind of learned that he's more just like a somewhat technical kickboxer. Throws a lot of leg kicks. Has really nice straight punches, but I don't know if his power is really the thing at this point.
No, I'd be Gaziev.
And on the other side, Sergey Pavlovich was like just this Terminator. And when he fought Tom Aspinall, dude, that's one fight that I haven't gotten that feeling, in a long. You get that feeling every once in a while when a fight's coming out, and you're just like, dude, this is gonna be such a sick fight, and it turned out to be just a crazy brawl for as long as it did last. And now Sergey Pavlovich on a 2-fight losing streak. After he was like looking like that dude after knocking out Curtis Blades. Lost the decision to Volkov. So, if Volkov can beat you, Rozenstruik has somewhat of a similar game, not as tall, not as technical. But I think that Pavlovich got this one. He's got this one. I'm gonna pick him by knockout. I'm gonna say probably in the first round. I'm gonna say KO1 for Pavlovich. Looking forward to him getting back to form, but I just do want to make the case that, hey, you know what, Jairzinho, he does have some skill, and he could win this one on the cards. I think if you were leaning Jairzinho, go ahead and pick him by decision. But I'm gonna roll with Pavlovich. I like this guy. I like everything he's about. I love the stand and bang style he's got. Let's go Pavlovich for the win here.
I completely agree. Although I do have a soft spot for Jairzinho Rozenstruik as well, especially since he messaged No Chill recently as well. But I am going with Sergey Pavlovich by round 1 KO, just like Idaho. Biggie boy Jairzinho Rozenstruik is ironically not bigger at all here against Sergey Pavlovich, being an inch shorter than him and having a way shorter reach. I don't know how long Rozenstruik can out-technique Pavlovich with leg kicks and jabs at range, before he enters the pocket with the big mini hooks, big quick hands Russian, and gets rocked. Sort of like Rosenstruik versus Ngannou at home. Jairzinho finds some success, and then his opponent just stampedes at him and puts him out cold. That's what I see happening here, except with a little more finesse from Sergey. I feel for No Chill, given that Jairzinho's his buddy on Instagram, and I think he is an underrated heavyweight. His at times fragile chin and slow, plotty footwork will be too much over 3 rounds. And in fact, I think he gets put out in round 1. There just isn't much for Sergey to worry about, not even power-wise. Rosenstruik's too technical to get a knockout here, just like Idaho said. Plus, Sergey's coming off a few losses, which should motivate him more to keep his spot as a top contender in this fight. He must break him. So, you put all those aspects of the fight together, and the outcome of this fight won't be up to chance, unlike Sergey's experience at the slot machines. Give me Sergey by round 1 KO. That was such a funny video.
DB says, keep betting Vinny and give me Saeed. I think that's probably the way to go. Pick Saeed on your Tapology pick, and plus 150 for Vinicius Oliveira, not a bad line if you think the fight's close like I do. 3 L's in a row would be, for Pavlovich, would be crazy. Dude, can you imagine, dude?
He After that all the way against Curtis Blades, I never would have thought it in a million years.
Gosh, that would be insane. Spizro is in the chat. He says, yo, brother, how you doing? Hey, this is our buddy from India, dude. What's up, Spizro? I'm unable to stay without watching you live now. Dude, I appreciate that, man. We're always happy to have you here, man.
Thanks for hanging out, even if it's for
the next fight. The next fight will be Shara Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page. This fight is taking place at middleweight, which is interesting. MVP career welterweight, so interesting. Shara Bullet is 15-0. He is minus 185 as the favorite here. He is from Moscow as well. He's 30. MVP on the other side is 22, 3-0. Last losing to Ian Gary, but he is 3-2 in his last 5. He's plus 155 as the underdog here. He's 37. MVP's last win came against Kevin Holland in his UFC debut. So, guys, I hate to break it to you. Everybody's excited for this fight, as am I, right? But I got bad news for you guys. If this fight goes in MVP's favor, it's not going to be as fun as you guys want it to be.
No.
MVP is earlier in his career, he was getting sick knockouts, throwing Pokeballs at fools, getting all the stones in his gauntlet. But lately he's gone the more technical kickboxing route. He dropped the decision to Logan Storley for the belt in Bellator, which I don't think anyone's faulting him for that. I think he had a great performance in that fight as well. And then he leg kicked Goiti Yamamuchi, broke his leg, vintage MVP. Comes back against Holland, kind of clowns him. And then he loses that fight to Ian Gary, which was actually pretty damn close. Now, on the other side, you have Shara Magomedov, who I think was largely unimpressive until his last knockout against Armin Petrosian, which he's a pretty reputable kickboxer. And it was basically a kickboxing match. It was a fun fight, very close. And then he got that sick double spinning back fist knockout. And now people are like, oh, dude, Shara, he's awesome. So it's like, MMA fans are so fickle. They hated this guy, and now they like him. So
doesn't matter what he did on the escalator. He's a great guy.
100%. So with that being said, I'm going to pick MVP by decision. Now, some of the things that give me pause about Shara. Number one, let's just bring up the fact that this guy's blind in one eye. Does nobody realize that Shara Magomedov is blind in one eye? Like, that eye thing is not, it's not like a pirate patch. It's like, this he's literally cannot see out of one eye. And
hey,
maybe he's not fully blind. Maybe he's not.
I won a middleweight title with one eye, buddy. I look rock hold. I got that left hand.
Maybe he's not fully blind, but he's definitely got some vision problems, to say the least. I mean, anyway. But the other thing is that he gasses. He gasses in the third round. He does not have good cardio.
No.
MVP dropped the decision to Logan Storley, who is a collegiate wrestler, one of the best wrestlers ever out of his college. And he looked good in the grappling exchanges. He played the jiu-jitsu game for some reason with Ian Gary, Maybe he was just kind of forced into it. I think we've learned since that fight that Ian Gary is better than we even were thinking at the time. So I think MVP is going to win this fight, and I don't think it's going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be classic MVP fashion. He's going to favor that side of the eye that is not good for Shara. Lots of side kicks, lots of jabs, lots of in and out. Guys, I don't see this fight being that exciting. Though I am very hyped for any MVP match, and I love to see just a technical kickboxing. I'd rather watch a boring kickboxing match in 4-ounce gloves in a cage under MMA rules than a boring grappling match. So I'm a fan of MVP, but I think you guys are not going to like this fight. The only thing that gives me pause about picking Page, and maybe you can help me understand why this is happening. Why is he fighting at middleweight?
I think he's just taking the fights the UFC are giving him at this point, making some money in Saudi Arabia.
And another thing, I think that it's because they want a backup in case the main event falls out.
Right.
And they want Shara Bullet to get the rub off of, hey, he beat Michael Venom Page. Dude that was sick in Bellator, had the sick knockouts. But again, it gives me pause because I'm like, oh, Shara's going to have even more power against Page. But also take into account that Page is going to be much faster. He's already an insanely fast welterweight. Even at the age that he's at, he's going to be even faster in this fight. So I'm going to pick MVP by decision that you guys are going to literally hate because it's not going to be exciting as you think.
Yeah. I'm going with Magomedov. I'm going with Shara by decision. Still looking for the reason why MVP's fighting. Yeah, I don't know. I think he maybe feels like his hourglass is starting to run out at his age. So he just wants some big fights, or he wants to get some wins and some fights. I'm going with Shara Magomedov by decision. I might not pick against Shara for a little. I might not pick against Shara for a little bit until he starts fighting in the UFC's middleweight top 10 at least, or faces Anthony Hernandez, which is really hard to swallow. No Jones, given he's such a scumbag. But damn if he's not talented on the feet. It sucks to deal with fighters that are poor excuses for human beings outside and maybe even inside the cage, but are undeniable contenders. No Izzy and no Jones. And unfortunately, Shara is one of them. Against MVP, who to be fair looked good on the feet against Ian Gary, who we can probably say is the spiritual number 2 welterweight in the UFC right now. I think Shara's body kicks and his excellent timing on the feet will come into play here. And if it doesn't, there has been recent footage of Shara drilling takedowns in preparation for the fight and saying that if he has to, he will be the one shooting takedowns and wrestling first, not MVP. So even if MVP does find success with his little back and forth hopscotching and catches Shara a few times, Magomedov could potentially find a takedown on MVP, who has literally zero takedown defense. Logan Storley, Douglas Lima, Ian Gary, all three of them figured out MVP's weakness and exploited it. And it's at the point where even Shara Bullet, the one-eyed ginger, who looks like that little puppet from Tales from the Crypt and has one of the worst performances when it comes to stuffing takedowns in middleweight history, wants to take Page down. The UFC talent has his number. The game plan's there for how to beat him. Everybody, even Shara Bitch, is using it. So give me him to barely outpoint MVP with leg and body kicks and get the takedowns when he needs to. It's going to have to be PFL or GL MVP for Page these days.
I think that this being in a favorable region for Shara could definitely sway the judges as well. But I'm really, this is not me. Don't take this the wrong way, Hank. Please don't. But I'm just very curious to understand. These are his UFC wins. Unanimous decision, Bruno Silva.
Right.
Antonio Tricoli, the pleasure man who's not in the UFC anymore, knocked him out. Michael Oleksiejczuk, who you yourself has said is a straight up bum, he went to decision with. And then his last win, undeniably such a sick win, sick fight 2 months ago, spinning back fist to Armin Petrosian. So tell me why you think he is a legit contender in the weight class with those wins.
I think he's a legit contender because I really like his timing. I think his body kicks are fantastic. Against Michael Page, who's a welterweight, I think it'll be easier for him to take him down here. Again, I think once he gets to the top 10 is when somebody's going to beat him, because I'm just telling you, man, there are a lot of guys like Ian Gary, like against MVP, where I'm like, man, this is the final stop for Ian Gary. He's not going to prove himself from here. Shavkat's going to whoop his ass. Then what did these unlikable fighters do? They beat him. and they get higher in the rankings than we think they are. So I think this is just another case of he's got that aura about him, and all the casuals are on his side. I bet against him, like I pick against him like twice, 3 times in a row, and then he somehow wins. So you know what? Fuck it. So I'm going with Magomedov, and I think he gets higher in the rankings. He's already ranked technically. He's number 13, I think. So again, top 10. But his next couple fights is where he's going to experience problems.
And I'll just push back a little more. I think that MVP, he's not a wrestler. He's a karate fighter. Basically, he came up in karate. Has a sick fight with Raymond Daniels, by the way, which you should totally check out.
Yeah,
he did good in the grappling against all those people you listed. Like he wasn't like just getting out grappled and ragdolled. Like he held his own. Though he did get controlled by them. I'll give you that. But I just don't think that, and we've actually seen MVP out wrestle Paul Daly, by the way. Which again, another striker. I'm not sitting here saying like he out wrestled Khabib or something. But yeah, no, I do like this fight a lot. I just think a lot of fans are really going to be disappointed. And it's not going to be very exciting.
Trust me. Nobody's rooting against Chara Magomedov here more than me, or maybe Guru. But
some comments.
Guru asks, "What happened to Khamzat? Why is he not fighting now? Is there any next fight of him? He is technically the number 1 contender at middleweight, so he's waiting out Dricus versus Sean 2, and I think he's going to get the title fight after that."
Now I learned that MMA fans change up their boy more than anime fans change up their waifu. Facts.
Yep, that is a fact.
I work with a guy who has only one eye. Well, there you go. Learning more and more about Scott Young. Like sumo, has a one-eyed coworker. Got it.
And also, he has a boss who hunts pheasant for a living, and sometimes gives that leftover pheasant to this guy. So he's living the life.
Never had pheasant, but Good for you, my friend. 16-0 incoming, says Tai and Spizro. Shiloh says, Paige, 2nd round KO. This guy has one eye. Hey, we're on the same wavelength here, Shiloh. Eye of the Daggy.
Eye of the Daggy.
Shara's not even that good on the feet, says Shiloh. Wow. Brothers, could you introduce yourselves to me? That's gonna have to wait for another time, Spizro, but appreciate you, man. Just stay tuned. You'll learn. Gastelum beats Chara. Wow.
That's quite the take.
Whoa. Chara for me and Izzy, and then the UFC makes Izzy versus Shala and makes boatloads. You guys are really confused about how the business works. Like, you think that Chara versus Izzy is going to be a pay-per-view headliner?
Doubt it.
They're going to make a bunch of money off that fight? I don't understand.
Main eventing a fight night right now.
Yeah, I don't understand the thought process there. Also, when people go like, "Oh, he's the money fight," it's like they're gonna make more money than their contracted like purses. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen. But I do agree that fight does big numbers as far as like social media traffic and all that stuff, and we'll certainly be covering it on this show. Shara needs to wrestle, says Shiloh. Way more entertaining fights for Shara at middleweight, but is he big enough? Wonder Boy versus Shara would be sick too. Another welterweight.
Are you saying MVP instead of Shara? That's weird.
Imagine that Shara just is faking being blind out of one eye just to fight in Saudi and UAE, getting the judges' favoritism and being able to stack on the juice. Like what you're saying, he's got like a contact.
Yes, and he
makes him look that way.
Yep. Just like
wow, that is a tinfoil hat take if I've ever heard one. Shara is cooked. I don't like this fight. Yeah, a lot of people are really hyping this fight up. I think that it's not going to deliver. Plus 160 lock. Though I think that if Shara wins, I think it'll be more exciting.
Right.
If MVP does what I think he's going to do, forget it.
Won't be close.
Shara by heel hook, says DB. I just saw
BJJ,
Magomedov. Why does he look like he has had his hands wrapped, but only on the wrist?
Wait, let's see.
Oh, yeah. He has that. He has
rope.
That.
A rope around the hair and the God. See, man, just looking at the profile picture before I found out all that horrific shit about him, like I was like, dude, this guy's crazy. One eye and he's got a ginger. And he's got that crazy attire, dude. This guy's a badass. And then I watched that video. I'm like, fuck this guy forever. Basically,
look, man, I really a lot of people that are high level athletes and just like big names and stuff like are not the best of people.
No,
I think it's very important to separate like the fight and the person. You know what I'm saying? The art from the artist, but
Yeah,
neither
that's why
here
I'm
nor
picking
there.
Tara by decision here.
The next fight is the main event. It will be Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov at 185. Izzy is 24-4, former champion. He is 2-3 out of his last 5. Jeez. And as I think it was Tai said, this is his first non-pay-per-view fight since 2018. Insane. He is minus 180 as the favorite here. He's 35. Nasruddin Imavov, 15-4. He is 3-1-1 in his last 5, plus 150 as the underdog. He's 28, fighting out of France. So yeah, man. Izzy in a tough spot here. Hold on. Not AM says answer my question. Oh yeah, he says thoughts on MVP's dad. I have no idea about MVP's dad. Don't know anything about him.
Apparently, he's a predator. So there you have it.
Okay, there you go. Interesting. Well, yeah, we answered your question there. Hope you had fun derailing the show just a little bit.
Lots
there.
of fun.
Love
Lots
you.
of fun.
Love you not in AM, bro. Yeah, that's unfortunate to hear. Izzy on a losing streak, down bad right now. We've seen Izzy go up against, grapplers and stuff and look really exciting and knock the dudes out. He wrestled Alex Pereira a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember his fight with Marvin Vettori, who Hank the Tank just is very low on. But I still think Marvin Vettori is a pretty good fighter. He had Marvin Vettori's back at one point and actually put in a choke for a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember that. But that's neither here nor there. Nasruddin Imavov is largely a kickboxer. But the guy's got some grappling. Another fighter that, just like the co-main event, tends to gas out. I don't know what it is. I think his upper frame is just so big that he gasses out. Also, something to take into consideration is Nasruddin Imavov has a terrible coach in Ferdinand Lopez. I don't think that anybody's going to disagree with that one. I don't think Ferdinand Lopez is a good coach. I think that he just has had 2 really good talents in Imavov and Francis, who is another fighter that he coaches in the UFC.
Let me see.
I feel like he's got another ranked fighter, or there's at least one more fighter in the UFC he coaches. It's escaping me right now. But that being said, I think Imavov can win this fight. Especially Izzy, coming off of, we've seen him look bad. We've seen the worst of Izzy, I think, recently. But I think Stylebender's hungry. I think he's going to want to get this one done. But the way in which he gets it done, I'm not so sure about. DB in the chat says, Tai says, this is going to be a classic Stylebender performance. I really hope so. I'd love to see it. I'm going to go the safe route and just pick Izzy by decision. He's got more 5-round experience. Former champion. He's been there plenty of times. But in that same vein, you can make the case that, hey, you know what? Imavov is hungry. This is his biggest name he's ever fought. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. But if Nasruddin wins, I don't think it'll be super exciting. But I hope Izzy puts on vintage Izzy performance, like you said, Tai.
Benoit Saint-Denis announces that he is now working with Nicholas Ott.
So BSD was coached by Ferdinand.
Yes.
Dude,
and
smart move by BSD.
And I think it's because Nasruddin Imavov's French. And he's like, hey, we got the connection there, right? 2 French fighters, coach, same coach. Yeah, we'll dominate.
Wait. So BSD's working with Ferdinand Lopez? I thought you said
Oh,
you mentioned a different name there.
I looked up Nasruddin Imavov's coach, and it said it didn't say Fernandez. It said Nicholas Ott for some reason.
I think they train at Fernand Lopez's gym.
Okay, Fernand Lopez. And how is that spelled?
Ferdinand Lopez. He's like the mouth. He was like the mouthpiece for Francis.
Yeah,
and they all train at the same gym.
Yeah, right. Okay, managed fighters. Ion Kutalaba, Cyril Gahn, Taylor Lapillus, Christian Mpumbo, Nasruddin Imavov. So there you go. So now BSV will probably end up in his gym.
Okay, not a smart move by
No.
BSD. Then my apologies.
Yeah, but I guess
Sorry to take you on that tangent. Let me know. It looks like you have Imavov. Let me know why you're picking him.
I guess it's just all people in that gym. Poor bastards. I'm going with Nasruddin Imavov by decision. I was going to pick Adesanya initially, but enough people have shared the potential strengths and advantages of the Frenchman, Nasruddin Imavov, in this fight that I think I have to pick him. Imavov's striking defense should be more precise than Dricus's in this fight, so I don't think Izzy will look like the Izzy of his last undeserved title fight of yesteryear on the feet. And there have been moments where Imavov has surprised me in the stand-up, like his dismantling of Jared Cannonier and really close effort against future middleweight champion Sean Strickland on short notice over 5 rounds. What will decide this fight, though, for Imavov is his wrestling, which can be heavy and suffocating at times. And I don't think Adesanya, even with all the preparation in the world, will be able to stuff every one of Imavov's takedowns in their fight, especially if it starts going past round 2 or 3. Given that he's been a standalone kickboxer in most of his fights and is taking on a guy who's better at wrestling than striking, which is still pretty damn good. Eventually, he's going to show inexperience in the grappling, most likely once he gets tired, around halfway through the fight, as he begins to slow down. Reminder that Adesanya is not a young fighter. He's right in the middle of his 30s, whereas Imavov's 28 and likely hungrier than him at this point in both men's careers. Imavov's mixing of striking and wrestling will eventually overwhelm Izzy, and he won't be able to outpoint or run away like he's done in the title fights before his defense against Pereira. I think he's going to gas out, especially in Abu Dhabi, and leave himself more susceptible to forms of offense from Imavov he's not expecting, resulting in a close decision win for Nasruddin. The style bender's getting taken out by the sniper. Bender, again, no Izzy. And the revenge tour for Millie beyond the grave continues. Willie time.
Okay, so I want to read you some stats here. Okay.
Let's see it.
These are some striking stats for Imavov. Strike landed per minute, 4.5. Striking accuracy is 55. Strikes absorbed per minute, 3.2. Actually, fascinating. He has the same strikes absorbed per minute as Izzy does. His striking defense is 58%. And the grappling, he shoots 0.8 takedowns per minute. So he's good for a takedown, maybe 2 in this fight, as far as the stats go. His takedown accuracy, 36%. Takedown defense, 78%. Submission average per 15 minutes, 1. So good for 2 submission attempts while he gets those takedowns, if he does get them. On the other side, striking stats for Izzy. Strikes landed per minute, 4. I'm sure that these striking stats were much higher before he became champ. Striking accuracy, 48%. Strike absorbed per minute, 3.2. Striking defense, 56%. Grappling, takedowns average for 15 minutes, 0.05. Takedown accuracy, 12%. Takedown defense is 75%. And submission average, 0.1. So just looking at those takedown stats, it doesn't seem like Imavov is a strong enough grappler to really put a dent in Adesanya's stats. And again, these are just stats. They don't really mean that much, but it is kind of interesting to me. People picking Imavov, because of his wrestling. I personally think this will be largely a kickboxing match, and that's the main reason why I myself am going to pick Adesanya by decision.
I think he's still pretty good in both the stand-up and the wrestling. So I think if he mixes in both of them, especially if the fight keeps on going, I think Adesanya might crumble like he's been doing in recent fights. That's just my view of things. And also, I'm going to be honest. I went to the ends of the earth, dude. I was trying to find multiple predictors and to try to get their thoughts on the fight. Every single one of them picked Nasruddin Imavov.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and they all had different reasons for it, too. So I'm going with Imavov.
There you go. I'm breaking the mold. French kickboxer normally just came with the volume. Kick that leg. Not a boring one. Not deserved. What do you mean, Tai? Izzy's gonna gas? Yeah, I don't see Izzy gassing in the fight. Izzy by decision.
Good against Dricus, sure.
Imavov is the gasser, if anyone. I agree. Very big
good
dude.
In round 4 against Cannonier, though.
If Imavov wrestles, he'll gas. That's interesting. Stat me. I can see Imavov winning. They need French fighters for the main card in France. What is that France event? I didn't know that. Anyway, guys, that's the show, man. Hank, do you have any more thoughts on this card or anything else that's happening this weekend?
I am going to miss seeing Oki and Alaskarov fight. I was looking forward to both of those. But I still think, like, as we kept going through the list of fights, like, my excitement for the card just grew and grew and grew. So, honestly, like, I'm still pretty hyped for this thing. I will probably watch some boxing, some of those last couple of fights on the Morell versus Benavidez boxing card for sure. And, yeah, man, I will say that I think even with a couple fights missing, I think it's still better than what UFC 312 is going to be. It has, what does it have, like, it has a Tafa brother on the main card.
Yeah, that fight card is trash. But to be fair, like UFC 311 was a really good pay-per-view, and I think the UFC is always weak heading into the year. And it seems like February at last year, remember DDP headlined that card against Sean Strickland in Canada.
Oh my God,
that card was
so bad.
Terrible. That was actually
January.
No,
I thought that was the start of the year.
Okay, got it. Yeah, maybe I'm getting that wrong, but that card was terrible. So they put terrible fights on some of DDP's cards. But yeah, man, I'm very excited for this weekend as well between Morell and Benavidez and this card for the UFC. Hank, what do you have coming up for the week? What can the people expect from you in the coming days?
You can expect to see another special edition of Hank's Think Tank on Wednesday, followed by, hopefully, if I have the time, Tank Tier List Thursday on the fighters ranked by how well they did outside the UFC. So
good stuff.
You'll have a lot of recent guys.
Friday, you might get some random fight companion from one of us or both. Maybe I'll move my live chat to Friday, but I kind of want to keep it on Mondays. Saturday, you'll be doing a fight companion?
Yes, for UFC. It's for Adesanya versus Imavov. Very card.
That'll be early in the morning, guys, so check your local listings.
And also, as soon as there's a terrible decision, look out for Hank the Tank's reactions to the rest of the card, because you won't want to miss them.
Yeah, so Saturday, there's a BKFC event as well. It's gonna have Let Me Bang Bro. I'm considering covering that, but yeah. Anyway, you might get a fight companion for me. Check out for the post show immediately following Hank's fight companion. I'll be doing a post show breaking down the card. Sunday, you'll get another episode of MMA Nerd, and then check the community tab for asking questions in relation to a live chat from me. You have anything else to say to the people?
All I have to say is be excited for this weekend. Thank you all so much, by the way, for giving us a ton of views on some of our most recent streams that we did last weekend. We really appreciate you hanging out, as well as watching multiple. We did like multiple shows that weekend, and we saw a lot of the same faces. So glad we got some diehard Splitty Citysters here in the live chat. And it's good to always see some new ones as well. I'm always happy I do the middle of the week streams because I always get new people.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, man, we've been putting a lot of work into the show. It's good to see the hard work paying off, but we're not done. We're still going to give you guys at least 7 shows a week. So give us a like. Check out what we got coming up next. And Hank, you want to lead us out?
Yeah. You have escaped Splitty City, the concrete jungle, for now. You and me, Sada, one-eyed middleweight champions of the world. How about it, buddy? You too, Sean Strickland, since you beat Izzy. Hey, I may be Nigerian on the outside, but I'm a Saudi prince on the inside. I gotta get that oil money, baby. Listen, just because my mom washed up the bags doesn't mean that we didn't...